All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now we are moving on to 6.4, where we will discuss the water cycle, and these are your guided notes. All right, the water we drink today is the same water that has existed since the world began. Isn't that crazy to think about? It's the same water. It's been recycled over and over again in a process called the water cycle. So today we're going to discuss how that cycle works and how it is that you're drinking the same water that people drank years and years and years and years ago. The water cycle, also known as the hydrologic cycle, is a journey water takes as it circulates from the land to the sky and back again. Now, there are several different stages. There's collection, evaporation and transpiration, condensation, and precipitation. So you can see on the picture on the right the process in action. So we've got precipitation with the water falling, it being collected, some of it percolating down in the groundwater, then it evaporating back up or transpiring through plants and back up in the air where it then condenses again and then precipitates down and then gets collected and just keeps going round and round and round. So collection is when water falls to the earth as precipitation. It collects in oceans, lakes, icebergs, puddles, rivers, and streams. And you can see pictures of all of those. That's where water is collected. Evaporation is when the sun heats up a collection of water and turns it into vapor or steam as it rises into the air. So on the left-hand side, we see some heat coming down and it causing the water to turn into a gas and rising up into the air. And there's a short video we're going to watch here on the right.
Welcome to Plum Landing, evaporation station. We're on a mission for Plum. We want to show Plum what happens after you paint with water. I'm painting a cat. All the stuff that we're painting with water is evaporating.
It's a pretty sunny day. Perfect for evaporation.
We've noticed as we paint on the ground that it starts to evaporate in the sun. Now it's been 5 minutes and the fish is almost totally evaporated. We painted some shapes with water and traced them with chalk. Now, when they evaporate, it's easy to see the original shape we painted. Water is a liquid and the sun turns it into water vapor, which is a gas. Then the water vapor goes up into the clouds, and then from the clouds, it rains back down.
I'm going to do an experiment to show what happens when water evaporates. I'm going to make a handprint on a piece of construction paper and put that one in the sun, and then I'm going to make another handprint and put that in a plastic bag. Now we're just going to wait to see what the sun does. It's been about 5 minutes, and the one that was just in the sun, the water's just gone. It's already been evaporated. The one in the plastic bag, I see little water droplets on the plastic bag. It's almost as though the water vapor has been caught in a net. That's the plastic bag.
I'm comparing two different surfaces. I'm going to paint water on metal and cement. The metal feels warmer to me. The water on the metal seems to evaporate faster. Maybe it's harder. I am painting a sun in the sun and a sun in the shade. And I'm going to see which one evaporates faster. It's been about 5 minutes and the one in the sun is almost gone. But the one in the shade is still as wet as ever. Now it's been 10 minutes and the one in the sun has now totally evaporated. But the one in the shade is still trying to evaporate. I think that the heat has something to do with this because it's cooler in the shade and the one in the shade isn't evaporating as fast as the one in the sun. Explore your world and then tell Plum about it at the Plum Landing site at pbskids.org.
Transpiration is the evaporation of water from plants. So as you can see in the picture on the left, the precipitation falls, it gets pulled up into the roots, and it then transpires. So it moves from the plant and out into the atmosphere through transpiration. Now, just as water evaporates from collections of water, it can also evaporate off the leaves of trees and plants. And here's an example on the right where they put a baggie around some leaves, and you can actually see the water that was collected because it was coming out of the leaf through transpiration. Condensation is water vapor in the air that gets cold and changes back into liquid water droplets in the air. This is how clouds are formed. So that is what condensation is. And here is another short little video with, of course, Bill Nye.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Hey, I'm in here. I'm in this giant freezer. Now, let's see what happens when I come outside where you are. See, the surface of my bubble helmet of science turns cloudy. That's because water vapor, which was floating around in the air, sticks to the cold surface in little liquid water droplets. Now, this process, this effect, this thing that happens is called condensation. It's the same thing that happens to people who wear glasses when they come in after being outside on a cold day. It's where clouds come from. Where'd you guys go? Oh, funny. Oh, very funny. Anyway, condensation is sort of the opposite of evaporation. Instead of liquid water gaining energy and becoming a vapor, water vapor loses energy, becomes a liquid. Little tiny droplets that stick to cold surfaces. That's a very important thing about condensation. Water vapor needs a place to stick in order for condensation to happen.
Look at the glass next time you drink your milk. Does it seem to sweat? Well, the glass isn't really sweating, of course, but it is wet. It's just the water vapor in the nearby air being condensed.
When clouds form, water vapor turns into tiny liquid water drops. But in order for that to happen, the water has to have some place to stick. It has to have something to stick to. So take a look at this. This is our big glass jug cloud apparatus of science. And we're going to make a cloud in here. First, we'll add a little water. This will be the water that will form our cloud. Just swirling it around a little. Now, using this pump, we'll pressurize the big glass jug. Then when I pull this rubber stopper off, the air in the jug will expand. And that's when a cloud should form. 3, 2, 1. See, nothing happened. That's because the water vapor didn't have anything to stick to. So what we're going to do is add some dust. Just a tiny amount of dust. And to make the dust, we'll use the smoke from these 2 matches. That's all the dust we need to form a cloud. Now watch. We'll pressurize it again. When I pull it off, the air in the jug expands. And when it expands, it cools off. The same thing happens to air masses when they get blown around by the wind and pushed up high into the sky. 3, 2, 1. See? It's a cloud. It's the water cycle. It's science.
Precipitation is a form of water that falls to the Earth's surface when so much water is condensed that the clouds can't hold it anymore. We can get rain, hail, snow. In Minnesota, we see all of it. We can see snow definitely in the winter. It just depends upon the temperature. Hail is caused when water is turning to rain, when the droplets turn to rain, but it is very cold in the cloud. And that is usually in a big storm with a very tall cumulonimbus cloud, and that will cause that little piece of hail to go up in updrafts of air. And the more often it does that, the bigger the piece of hail gets. So in really energetic storms with very cold clouds, we can get hail. So a little review. There is another picture that shows the cycle. We have the rain, as precipitation. It comes down, it collects in rivers and streams and in the ocean, and then it can evaporate back up into the air, or plants could take it up and they will use it, and then it gets released through transpiration. It then goes up into the air, it condenses when it cools, and then it comes back down as precipitation. So some vocab to remember: collection, evaporation, condensation, water vapor, water cycle, transpiration, and precipitation. These will all be part of your vocab. One last little thing, and I challenge you to try this at home. You can do this very simply. Watch this experiment and try it and see how it works. This is how we are going to end the discussion. This is a water cycle in a bag. So hopefully you have learned a little bit about the water cycle today, and here they are going to try and show how they can make it rain. So enjoy, and I will see you next time.
Hello, I'm Jared, back with another demonstration experiment on the water cycle. And this is pretty cool. We're going to do the water cycle in a baggie. We're going to make it rain inside this bag. Really cool. So the shorter baggies can work, but I find the bigger baggies, the Ziploc baggies, are the best. You want a nice clean seal, and you want some space for that water cycle to happen, that evaporation, condensation, precipitation, then accumulation to happen. So I'm going to draw a design on this, and I'm just using a Sharpie marker so it doesn't come off. I'm going to draw a sun because that's what powers it. Nice smiley face sun. It's beautiful. I could draw some clouds if I want to. I could draw some ocean waves. Really simple design. Now let's make the water happen. So I'm going to open the baggie, fill it just a little bit with water, trying to keep it off the edges as much as possible. You can see that's all the water I want. It's going to actually be hanging on a window, so if it's heavy, it might actually fall down. Now, you can keep the water in clear, but I find it's really neat if you add food coloring, because that's where the magic happens. When the water evaporates and condenses on the side, it's cool to get kids to hypothesize what color that water is going to be. So be careful it doesn't splash up on the sides. Just put a few drops of food coloring in. You can make it as dark or as light as you want. And I want to seal this up. Make sure it's not open, or else the evaporating water will get out of the baggie. So let's hang this on the window and see it in action.
Okay, here we are back in Jared's classroom. As you can see, we have a number of these bags just taped up with masking tape on a window, and it's really fun for the kids to watch them during the day. This is a sunny day, so already the evaporation is occurring, and we have water droplets on the side of the bags. One of the things that's really interesting to note, the blue water, only the water is evaporating, so the water droplets themselves are clear. You could ask the kids to hypothesize why that is. So now we're going to zoom in on one of the bags here with the smiley face sun, and we're going to see if we can make it rain in the bag. We're just going to tap gently on the bags to see if a few of those drops that are on the side will kind of get together and fall down. But using the water cycle in a bag is really a fun way for kids to see the water cycle in action, to really understand it. We're tapping there, and you can see a little bit starting to rain inside the baggie. Water cycle in a bag. Thanks for watching.
All right, thank you for watching.